Christmas time is coming up, which means that all of the Orlando theme parks are decking their parks out in holiday decorations. Universal has a great big Macy's parade like they do on Thanksgiving. Islands of Adventure has Grinch stuff going on everywhere. Even SeaWorld is up in full swing with decorations all over the park. There's a whole food festival, a nativity scene show, an ice skating show, and a fireworks show. Now let's look over at Magic Kingdom. Okay, Main Street looks really nice. Other than that, there's not a lot of decorations up around the park, and it seems like most everything in this park is the same as usual. Same parades they always do, and the same happily ever after fireworks show that they do year-round. Not a whole lot of Christmas stuff going on over at Magic Kingdom. Now I know you're all screaming right now that it's because of Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. So let's just take a look into how Disney does their holidays. So like I said, over at Universal and SeaWorld, all of their Christmas stuff is included in the day ticket, and both of them actually include quite a lot of extra content. It's a great way for these theme parks to bring people in during the holidays, saying, hey, come celebrate your holidays here. We've got all the decorations and all the fun stuff to do. But over at Disney World, they have a bit of a different idea of how the holidays are supposed to go. As if you want to experience Disney World with Christmas, you've got to pay extra for that, as you will only get to see any of the Christmas content if you pay extra for an after-hours party event that they do about every other night for the season. And unfortunately, this comes with quite a lot of issues, to the point where I would actually like to see them just completely abolish Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party and Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. And I hope that by the end of this video I can convince you to agree. So let's dive into what's actually included in these parties. Now both the Halloween and the Christmas parties work almost exactly the same. It's a ticket that only gets you in for the evening for Magic Kingdom. Mostly the whole park is open. You can do all the rides and stuff, but they also do like a special Halloween show or Christmas show up on the castle. Then they do a holiday themed fireworks show and a holiday themed parade, as well as some different food items and character meets throughout the night. Now these things are all great, but they're not really adding anything to the parks. They're literally just replacing everything that you already get on a normal day. So instead of seeing the Happily Ever After fireworks show, now you get to see the Christmas fireworks show. And instead of seeing the regular parade, you see the Christmas parade. So there's really no reason that they can't just put all of this holiday stuff that they lock behind a paywall and just put that in the park for this time of year as just for anyone to see. Now, I actually did go to the Christmas party a few days ago so that I could at least know what I'm talking about for this. And don't get me wrong, it's a good time being able to go to Magic Kingdom and do all of the fun stuff there and see some cool shows. Except that it barely felt any different than any other night that I usually just go to Magic Kingdom to do all that stuff. Because like I said, they're not really adding much to the experience. They're just giving you a slightly different experience than you normally would get. And so it would be very easy if, let's say that for all of September and October, they're just going to put the Halloween overlay on everything, just for all the guests that come in. And then during November and December, they'll just put the Christmas overlay for all guests who come in. You know, like Universal and SeaWorld both do. The only thing I can see that might get a little bit messed up during this is that they probably wouldn't be able to just give out a lot of the free candy and cookies that they do during these events. But I'm sure they could figure out a way to just offer like an upcharge for stuff like that. So it seems like Disney is pretty committed to gatekeeping all of their holiday stuff, strictly limiting how many people are allowed to experience it every year. Now I know everyone's going to shout out, well, of course they're going to do it. They make more money this way. And I mean, I'm sure they do. They wouldn't keep doing these if they were losing money on them. But I kind of feel like this is not as big of a bonus to them as it seems. And this goes into the whole issue of Magic Kingdom's park hours for almost the entire second half of the year. So these parties usually run about 3 or 4 nights a week. I think it's usually like Sunday and Tuesday and Thursday and Friday most weeks. So it's almost like every other day is going to be a regular day, and then the others are just going to be the party days. Well, surprisingly, it seems that most people who plan their Disney World trips are pretty aware of the schedule here. And you can tell because most people avoid Magic Kingdom on party days. Because Magic Kingdom is a really expensive park. And why would you pay full price for this park if you're going to get kicked out at 6 o'clock and not get to see the fireworks? And so instead of having the crowds being evenly dispersed day by day, you have everyone avoiding the party days, but then all going at the same time on the non-party days. So just take a look at this crowd calendar for an example. So if the day was green, it means that the crowds are pretty low. And if it was red, it means that it was really busy. And I don't really think I have to explain much here. The crowd calendar speaks for itself. If it's a party day, it's really slow. Nobody wants to show up. But then on the non-party days, it gets extremely crowded. So at this point, I pretty much just avoid Magic Kingdom for the most part between mid-August and the end of the year. Because you basically have two choices. You can either go on a day where the crowds are low, but you can't watch the fireworks, or you go on a day where you can actually experience the fireworks, but you can't really do any rides because it's too crowded. And so when I think about it, I'm like, are they actually making more money by doing this separate event? At first, it might seem like, oh, they're like selling 2 batches of tickets. Like they're selling a whole daytime batch of tickets and then another nighttime batch of tickets. tickets. But if nobody even wants to show up for the morning, then they're not really selling that many tickets for the day. And then the nighttime party is supposed to be this like exclusive thing, so they're not selling tons of tickets for that either. I think one of the biggest indicators here is just the parking lot. You know, on a party day, they might fill like 1/3 of the parking lot during the day, and then another third from the people who show up for the nighttime party, whereas just a regular non-party day sometimes will fill the entire parking lot. Now with this being sort of like a more exclusive event, this is gonna sound weird, but I feel like they sell too many tickets for it, but also not enough tickets for it. For example, when I say they sell too few tickets, like let's say that you want to go to Disney World and experience the Christmas stuff. Well, I hate to break it to you, but every night is already sold out. The list of people who get to experience the Christmas stuff at Magic Kingdom is already full, so you're just gonna have to go on a day that doesn't have any Christmas stuff going on. But then I would say that they sell too many tickets because a lot of times you try to go to these parties, they still feel kind of crowded. Everyone always says that, oh, you go to these parties so that everything's a walk-on, there's no wait times for anything. But honestly, that's not even really true a lot of the time. Like Tron is still often like a 30 to 45 minute wait. Space Mountain can still get up to about 20 minutes. I guess the one advantage is that there's no lightning lanes cutting in line, which makes the line move a lot quicker. I wish that was also a norm. But the thing is, if you're paying all this extra money for a so-called exclusive event, you kind of expect to have more space to yourself. And when you're still getting caught in big crowds and having a hard time seeing the parade or waiting in long lines for the rides, you don't really feel like it's that exclusive. And another issue this brings up is that there's no room for error. If something goes wrong during your party night, then you're just out of luck. And this happened to me during my party, because a few nights ago, the night that I attended the Christmas party also happened to be the day that it was just raining all evening. The entire event was rained out. So I'm trying my best not to get soaked and still trying to have a good time, which didn't work out so well. The parades were all canceled, the stage shows were all canceled. Luckily, the rain did clear up for a short period right when they were able to do the fireworks, so I did get to see the fireworks show. But for the most part, the event felt completely worthless. And like I said, every event is already sold out, so they can't just give you a rain check to show up for another night. So even when I tried jumping through the hoops that Disney wanted me to go see and experience their Christmas stuff, if you get unlucky, then sorry, you still just don't get to have it. On the plus side though, it does look like they gave everyone who attended that party one free park hopper ticket to use any time for the next year, which if I had the top tier Disney annual pass, then that would be completely worthless to me. But since I don't, I guess I can use it for one of the blockout dates. So I guess I'll use it to go to Epcot on New Year's Eve. Now I know some people will point out that they actually do some of the Magic Kingdom Christmas stuff for all of the day guests on the week of Christmas. So they technically do give you an opportunity to see some of the Christmas stuff, not all of it, on just like a regular day. Except that the week of Christmas is also completely sold out too, because that's like the worst time of the year to ever go to Disney World. So unless you're paying for an after hours ticket, or you are paying the top dollar for the sold out week between Christmas and New Year's, then you're just not going to get to experience any Magic Kingdom Christmas. Now, I'm a realist. I know these parties have been going on a long time, and there's no chance of them getting rid of them anytime soon, at least under current Disney leadership. So we're pretty much stuck with them. So would I actually recommend going to these parties? Well, it kind of depends on your situation, actually. Like a few years ago, when I was taking a vacation out, mostly just for Universal and Horror Nights, I had no tickets to Disney, and I noticed that they were really expensive, but I saw that one night ticket to Mickey's Halloween party was like $120 instead of paying like, I don't know, $180 for a day pass there. And so I thought, that's actually not a bad idea to just experience Disney World that way. And it actually turned out to be pretty good. I mean, even in just those 8 hours at night, we were able to do all the rides in the park and see all of the Halloween shows and try some snacks. So for that crowd of people, if you can get a good price on it, like earlier in the season, it's actually not that bad. But now that I'm a pass holder and I can just go to Magic Kingdom all the time, like I said, going to this Christmas party barely felt any different than all the other nights I go to Magic Kingdom. So honestly, I will say it felt like a pretty huge waste of money. I'm almost glad that I got it rained out so I can get another ticket for something else. Now, I honestly thought that I was alone in these complaints, but I've actually seen inside of like Disney World annual pass holder like Facebook groups, which are full of all of the diehard Disney fans. And I was surprised to see that almost everyone there was like, yeah, we really want these parties to go away. Just make the party content part of the park. It doesn't warrant its own event. But let's move on from Magic Kingdom for a little bit, because Disney World is more than just Magic Kingdom. So let's see what the other parks are doing. Well, over at Animal Kingdom, there's a little bit of stuff going on, I guess. There's a little bit of lights here and there, and a couple of like polar bear characters hanging out. And they do a cute little projection show on the tree at night. Definitely not enough stuff here to plan your trip around, but I guess at least it's something. And then Epcot is kind of interesting. There's a whole lot of Streetmosphere stuff around the World Showcase, just kind of showcasing like how all of these different countries have their own Christmas traditions. And then of course there's a specific food festival just for this season, but it's mostly just a bunch of cookies. And then they do this like candlelight processional thing. I don't know if this happens every single day, maybe a few times a week, but people line up for like 3 or 4 hours just to get a seat for this thing. I know, because a friend of mine made me wait with her to see it last year. But I mean, it's pretty much just a choir that sings Christmas songs with a celebrity guest. But clearly they need a bigger stadium based on how much demand the show gets. But then this is also the only time of year that Living with the Land gets a sizable line because they actually put Christmas lights on that ride. So while this ride normally has about a 5 or 10 minute wait, in the past week I've seen this ride reach an 80-minute wait. But now let's look at Hollywood Studios. Now this one kind of has the same issue as Magic Kingdom. Like there's a decent amount of lights coming in through the entrance and down Hollywood Boulevard, and they even have a pretty cool projection on the Hollywood Tower. But just like Magic Kingdom, everything else is locked behind an extra paywall. Now Jollywood Nights is a bit newer of an event, and I also attended this one before making this video. So this event doesn't seem quite as popular as Magic Kingdom's, but again, they just have a few shows here and there. There's like a show that's like Mickey's Christmas with the Muppets. There's a Nightmare Before Christmas sing-along show, which, a little side note on this thing, it wasn't a bad show, but there were a few things I really questioned about it, like the fact that they only played like 4 songs, and then there was like a whole bunch of like pointless filler in between. But the songs they picked for it were a little strange as well, because like the main song for the show is What's This?, which I guess is the most Christmassy song from the movie, but I don't think most people know this song as well as they think they do, because this song is really fast. And even with the lyrics on the screen, almost nobody could keep up with singing along to it. So they have that song, and then the Kidnap the Santa Claus song, which is a little Christmassy, I guess. And then there's the whole Oogie Boogie song, which they kind of just encourage you to sing the backing track of. So I don't know, the whole show was a little bit strange. But then the third show is an ice skating show out on the main plaza. And I gotta say, SeaWorld's ice skating show is quite a lot better than this one. You can tell it in the Hollywood one, they don't even use real ice. So the skaters are skating around this like pretty small square of like, I don't know, some kind of plastic that they can skate on. But you can tell that it just does not look as graceful as real ice. But then surprisingly, they actually put on a pretty big fireworks show there too, which I've never actually seen a real fireworks show at Hollywood Studios until this show. But other than that, the whole event just seems like it's all about the character meets. I think they had like 16 different characters around the park that you could take pictures with. And even still, almost every single one I passed by had a crazy long line. So you could be wasting half your night just to take a few pictures. And again, you're paying like over $150 to show up to this thing. So again, I don't understand why they have to make all this an exclusive after hours event. All of this stuff they could easily just put into the park. It seems really annoying that even if you just want to try a food item, it's like you have to pay a $150 cover charge just to be able to get in to try some food. So like I said, these events can be kind of fun, but everything that they offer during the parties could easily just be put in the park for the season. It should not be a separate ticketed event that, you know, gatekeeps half the people out from even seeing it. Because yeah, like Universal and SeaWorld are both killing it with putting so much extra Christmas content all over their parks. And because they decorate their parks for Christmas, they sell a whole bunch of tickets just for people to come see it. It doesn't need to be a separate ticketed event where you have to kick out half the people from the park. But honestly, I would say that most after hours events to these theme parks are not really worth it. And you'd be surprised at how many different after hours events there are here. Really, the only after hours events I could say are like really worth it are Halloween Horror Nights and Hallowscream, because those events actually add a lot of extra content, you know, all of the haunted houses. It's like they completely transform the park and it's a whole new experience. Whereas most after hours events seem to be like, look, if you pay us like double price for a ticket, we will kick all of the poors out of the park early and we'll let you have the park to yourself for a couple hours at night. And Universal's not entirely innocent on this either though, because when you look at the schedule for Universal for like a lot of the year, they're closing the parks at like 7, but I've actually seen that Universal hosts quite a lot of after hours parties just sold out to like private companies. Like just the other day I was leaving Islands at 7 o'clock as they were closing, while a whole bunch of people were walking into the park with some special wristband. And after Googling around and seeing that there's no results on any sort of after hours event, I just asked a team member and they're like, oh yeah, some companies rented out the park. So yeah, it turns out that a lot of the time Universal is kicking you out so early, it's because they basically sold out the park to a higher bidder. And every time you ask around like, oh, what's the after hours event going on? People are always like, oh, it's probably Orlando Informer, as if that event just happens like every week. But honestly, I'd be willing to bet that Orlando Informer goes about it the same way a lot of other companies do, where they're just like, hey Universal, we want to pay you so much money so we can rent out your park for the night. But instead of them being a big company full of employees that they're giving benefits to, they're just selling tickets for a spot into it. But again, I'm just not really the biggest fan of after hours events, and that's coming from somebody who goes to theme parks every day and only ever goes in the evenings. It's just that I hate the artificial exclusivity they try to create with them. It almost seems like it's more about the bragging rights of like, look at me, I get to hang out in the park after it's closed. It kind of seems like these parties were made for the type of person that wants to be able to go home from their trip and say, Hey, I didn't just take a trip to Disney World. I went to Disney World Plus. So yeah, almost all after hours things just rub me the wrong way. I think the parks should just always be open late to everybody. But what do you guys think about all the Christmas events? Do you like visiting these parks around Christmas time for the theming? Or do you avoid them like the plague because of how crazy busy they get? I actually think that the best theme park for Christmas is SeaWorld. I just think they are very solid all around. They got the better ice skating show than Hollywood Studios. They got a food festival like Epcot. Their light coverage around the whole park is probably better than almost any other park. And they've got a really good fireworks show too. Now, to the few of you who are still watching at this point, I have a bit of a funny bonus story that just happened. So a few days ago, we drove out to Busch Gardens, Tampa to just go check out their Christmas stuff. And a lot of it's pretty good. And we noticed this thing that was called like the North Pole. It almost looked like the Halloween time where you're walking into a haunted house, but it was like a Christmas house. And so we waited in line for a little bit. We didn't really know what to expect. We walk in and there's like these elves welcoming us to the North Pole. And then they walk us into another room where we get to sit and meet Santa. And I'm just thinking like, oh great, what's going to be my answer? What do I want for Christmas? So at one point, Santa turns to me and says, "And what do you want for Christmas?" And I just said, "I want one of your elves." And he looked at me kind of confused, and him and one of the elf helpers there were just like, do you mean like you want a little elf on the shelf kind of thing? And I'm like, no, I want like one of your helpers. I want to take him home. And they're just like, oh, okay, so you want like an assistant of some kind. I'm like, yeah, sure, I just want one of your elves. And he just looked at me like I was a psycho, like he just did not know how to respond. And eventually they just had to be like, okay. Well, we'll see what we can do. And we just walked out of there. Yeah, I know it's weird, but how can it not be weird when you got two adults talking to Santa about what they want for Christmas? Also, in case you were wondering, it says Merry Cryptmas.